Welcome to the Here and Now Show. I'm your host, Lavonda Marshall. And if you tuned into the Here and Now Show, you know that I'm coming from the Midwest where we show up and show out. Gotta love your city. Hello, somebody. And if you've been with me on the Here and Now Show, you know that the Here and Now Show is a show where I've took real life events and turned them into a positive living because you know that all voices matter. So if you have any questions or if you have any comments, feel free to leave it in the message box. So with that being said, let's start the show. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am so blessed to be here. I feel blessed, and you should too. So, I want to say hello to all my family and friends. And if this is your first time joining, welcome to the family. I am so glad that you are here. Here on this show, we laugh together, we heal together, and sometimes we talk about how life can get a little crazy, but we still make it through. So thank you all for being here with me. Today's conversation, though, it's different, because, your girl loves to tell jokes, but also can be very serious. So, today I'm talking about being tired, but you're still going. Because not because you're sad and not because you're giving up, but because today you are choosing to be honest with yourself and no more pretending, you know, and that realizing that every smiling face doesn't mean that we got it all together. It doesn't. So, I'm not perfect. I'm human. I have my days, I have my moments, I have my hours, and even my months. I don't have it all together, but I'm still showing up. I'm still coming here. I'm still getting out of bed. You know, have you ever smiled while secretly carrying the pain and secretly you're asking God, oh my God, how much more can I take? And once I said that to myself at that moment, I learned that don't question God because He already knows the things that we're doing before we do it. So I had to stop questioning those things. So, because He already knows. Because, I've been there before. I've been there where I've unpacked my baggage. It happened. I guess our screen just went out, but I said, and I've also got it where I've organized my pain. But still, while I'm doing all this, trying to keep it together, there's still packages still waiting at my front door called life. And there's still things that I'm dealing with. I'm still dealing with untimely deaths. I'm still dealing with, family and family members and your children growing up, and you still got to deal with those things. I'm still dealing with the breakups that I've dealt with and still smiling. Hello, how are you doing? Today's your birthday. Happy birthday. Hey, hi everybody. How you doing? I'm glad you came in to join me this afternoon, I guess this evening. So happy late birthday, darling. I hope you have a good one. And so, like I said, so, people sometimes think that, when you're being strong, that strong people don't get tired. Well, I'm here to tell you, strong people get tired. You know, we get exhausted. So today I'm talking about, being tired doesn't mean that you're lazy. It just sometimes means that you're mentally exhausted. It's not being weak, it's being emotionally and spiritually drained. I love it. Yay. Thank you. Thumbs up. Welcome. How you doing? I hope your Thursday's going good. So if this conversation today, somehow blesses you, please make sure you guys like it, subscribe, follow, and remembering that healing starts when you finally starts to say, I am not okay. That is the first thing of healing, but believe in that. So grab your coffee or grab your evening tea or your snack like me or grab something that's getting you through the day. Just eat at it, and pull up a chair because we're going to have a nice conversation for about, I don't know, 20, 30, 45 minutes. I don't know, whatever sets the mood. But if you guys know me, you guys know I love jazz. So before we dive into it, go out. If you got to go to the bathroom, whatever you got to do, take a few seconds. Then I'm going to come back and we're going to dive into today's conversation, and hopefully you come in feeling real heavy and we leave feeling lighter than we walked in. So let's just take a moment to embrace the jazz because I feel like that for me, jazz music kind of sets the stage and makes things all better. So take a few seconds to jazz in class and then we're going to dive into it. Thank you. Happy birthday again. Happy birthday. I wanted to give you that. And I'm so glad that you told me, oh, that is your birthday. because birthdays are special. You made it another year. God is good. So let's jazz it out for a moment and then let's get into it. Welcome back. I know that wasn't long. So the topic in the conversation, you guys see it from at the top of the screen. And so the question was, someone asked me, what does mentally tired looks like? And if I answer that, to me, it looks different from everyone. Everyone's journey looks different. And so, and someone said, well, what if I'm lazy? And the answer to your question is, you're not lazy. Maybe you're just exhausted. I don't think that you're not lazy. I think that you're just mentally exhausted. It doesn't sometimes being exhausted or mentally exhausted, it doesn't look like crying all the time. Sometimes it looks like forgetting things. Sometimes it looks like canceling plans. Sometimes it looks like sleeping too much or not sleeping at all. But sometimes it's telling yourself that I came into this, it's telling yourself that I can do this and I'm going to do this and things is going to get better, because you have to believe that, because everyone's mental exhaustion looks different. It doesn't look the same for everyone. Sometimes, with myself, I tell myself, have you ever done this? I don't know if you can relate. Have you ever walked into your kitchen and you came in there for one thing and 20 minutes later you're doing something completely different? Like for me, I went into my kitchen just the other day to do something, and I couldn't remember what that something was, and 5 minutes later I'm eating a bowl of ice cream. Right, that wasn't the assignment. And sometimes our minds are just overloaded, not broken, just overloaded. Too much on our mind, and too much on your mind could be heavy. My father used to say this quote. He used to say, "It's not enough cooks in the no, too many cooks in the kitchen and not enough chefs." And I think about that. I don't even know what the hell that meant, because cooks and chefs are pretty much the same. Okay, so forget that thought. That was random. I was just like, there might have been something to throw out there. But if somebody could tell me what that meaning is, because right now I'm confused. But too many cooks in the kitchen, not enough chefs. That's just something that I was told. But somebody could tell me what that really means, because I don't know. That didn't make sense. But my point is, our minds can become overloaded. And there was points in my life where I felt like my life was so overloaded. There was a season that I even wondered if things was even going to get better, because life was life. And when life get to life, and oh, you got to still show up. You got to keep showing up. And I kept doing that. I kept writing my books. I kept streaming my podcast. I kept still encouraging people. I kept encouraging everybody else. But behind, when I get off the air or when I left, I was mentally tired, and I'm not ashamed to say that. You know, um, Life just kept testing me. Life tests you all through. You know, um, I was mentally tired. Disappointment from hurt made me tired. You know, Disappointment from being misunderstood, and nobody likes to be misunderstood, but sometimes people misunderstand us, and those things hurt. But the thing was, God was preparing me, and I had no idea that this whole time I'm putting all these standards on myself and not telling myself take a break, because God got it. God is in control, and He was preparing me. I had no idea. Do you know how beautiful that is? To know that there's something planned for you. You don't quite know what it is, but you know it's gonna happen. And even though that same woman that cried in private will be one day be that same woman that could come out here and encourage other people in public places. Sometimes your plane is you just building your own platform. Sometimes doing that is just that. So, tell yourself, sometimes repeat after me: I am tired, but I'm not finished. Again, I am exhausted, but I'm not empty, right? My story isn't over. Like, you can clip that, post that, tag somebody, because you are someone special, And trust me, you are special. Even if you think, well, what is so special about me? There's nothing special about me. Oh baby, there is something special about you. You woke up this morning. There are some things that you can do that other people couldn't even imagine doing because you was built for that. There are some people that can't do or walk them out in your shoes, because just remember, you are special. You got to trust that. You got to believe in that, you know. And so, like I said, if you can understand that, feel free to like, subscribe, and share. I survived a lot of things. I survived things that try to break me. When I first started this journey and my peace and my journey of walking in peace and walking in faith and walking in love, I remember during my journey at the very, very beginning, there were moments that I felt so dark on the inside. I was I was losing people and I didn't understand because I thought these people would be with me, but the people I were losing was being taken out of my season because that wasn't meant to be in my season with me and during my journey, because everyone's not meant to go in your journey with you. And so as I was going through this journey, there were moments where I was feeling dark on the outside, and eventually that darkness started to show on the outside. And the thing is that when people would look at me, could tell that something was wrong by the well of my eyes. I've always believed that your eyes don't lie, but there are some people that can look you in the eye and lie to you so good that is amazing. But for the most part, they could look in the well of my eyes and see that, hey, something's not right. But you know what I did? I masked it. I put on my sunglasses and gave a smile and said, huh, I'm okay. I'm good. Mind you, I put my sunglasses on inside of a building. There's no sunshine in the building. But I masked it, and I started doing this for so long till it got uncomfortable to my spirit. Like you're hiding all your pain. There were parts of me that people don't even know exist, but it was there. So, I said, you know what? I told myself, you got this. You got this, because life is, again, like I said, some days it's going to be good days. Some days are going to be bad days. Some days are going to be the best days that you wish you could go back and repeat those days. And the thing about life is we can never get that time back. So you learn from what you've been through, because in order to learn from your mistakes, you have to make those mistakes, right? Because you can't learn if you don't never make mistakes, because we're human. We're imperfect people, and there's no one I've ever met that's perfect. So, you know, I got that on inside of me, and I started building that truth. I started facing my truth. Yes, face your truth. I had it in me. I had it there. I had the truth. I walked in faith. You know, I looked like I had it together. I had the smile, but I had no peace. I had the clothes, but I didn't have the comfort. I had the relationship, but I didn't have the love that I thought I deserved. So a part of me during my journey was going through those type of things. And then I realized that life has a way of changing you. You know, as I grew older and I began to walk into relationships, like most people, you walk into a relationship with the thought of it being not perfect, but damn near to perfection. You walk into a relationship to stay. You walk into a relationship with the intent that this relationship is going to work. But I wasn't looking for perfection. No, I was looking for a partnership, not a relationship, a partnership. And it's a great difference. A partnership, someone I could laugh with, someone I could pray with, someone I could grow with. And some of the hardest years of my life was that, because now I had got so deep into my journey that I could talk about it. Like I can now look back and be like, okay, these are the things that I felt. And I could look back and say, oh, I learned from that, because you learn from your mistakes. And so, like I said, as I got deeper into my journey, I could say that, now I pray about everything before I do anything, because prayer works. And without prayer and without works, you're just praying. So you not only do you pray for those works. And I learned that, a lot of times I found myself during this journey questioning God. Why this? And then I learned one moment when I questioned God that you never question. Why am I questioning? Because he sees what we don't see. So I started praying for what I knew that I deserved. Like if I felt like I deserved something and I needed it, and asked God, is this the right thing for me? And sometimes you have to wait and patient. You're in God's waiting room. You're waiting it. You're waiting for Him. But I didn't know, how wonderful this journey would be. Coming into this journey. Because as I was going through the journey, I was going through relationships. And I was, like I said, I was dating one person and thinking that went into this relationship thinking this is going to be great. We're going to be together. And the whole time, he had a double life. Like a whole nother relationship with his looking ass. His looking ass had a whole nother relationship that I didn't know anything about. I didn't know anything. But then when the truth came out, I remember thinking like, what in the world just happened? What the hell did I just walk into? I tell you, the argument started, and then the accusations started, and then confusion started because I was confused. I was confused because I didn't know I became single overnight. If you ever been in a relationship and this person has left you and you don't even know you're single. You only find out you're single because now you're getting phone calls and people are calling your phone or someone has told you, hey, this is what the word is how you react to all that. So I was losing myself like what the hell, Leontay, just happened here? Because we began to fight more, and the reason why we fought more is because there were pieces that just wasn't adding up. And like I said, when the truth came to light, boy, some bruises, they don't have to be on your body. They could be mentally, and I was being mentally mind screwed. And so I carried a lot of tears that year. I carried a lot of tears, more tears than I thought anybody could carry. Hell, I didn't know a human could carry so many tears. I lost so many. And then, at that time, I was questioning my worth, and the pain was heavy. I give you that. It was definitely heavy. And it's crazy because a lot of people don't understand that when you start to carry other bearings or other situations for other people, or the main thing that I was doing that was the red flag in that relationship is that I was hiding. I didn't want people to know what was really going on behind closed doors. So I was making up things, or I'm making up things in my mind of the way I want them to be, but the reality was they wasn't like that. So key note, if you have to hide your relationship from people, that's probably not the relationship for you. And I was tired of hiding. I'm like, hey, I'm not going to keep taking up for someone who won't even stand up for me in the rain and they say they love me. So after a long time, probably about 2 years, right? And that question I answered at that time, it changed everything about me because healing did not come overnight. It didn't happen overnight, but I changed overnight. My emotions changed. And when I realized that loving someone should never cost you your peace, understanding that being committed should never require you to lose yourself. You should never have to lose yourself for someone else to love you because that means you're not being yourself. And that's not required. And then I realized that when I was walking away out of that relationship, I was walking away with courage. I was walking away from a blurry bad situation. I was walking away from feeling weak, and walking away wasn't easy. It wasn't. I had trust issue. I was out of the relationship now and I had trust issue. I was scared. I was scared to see what was to come and what was to happen because this relationship had me so mind flustered. But then as I walked away, I realized, baby, you still alive. I'm still believing, you know, and I'm still here. And they couldn't take that from me. There was nothing they could take that from me. Now, today, those scars that I carried, those are memories. Those are boundaries. And that's why your boundaries are so important because your boundaries and your peace is priceless. You know, life will teach you to set those boundaries. Life will teach you to, pay attention to the things that are before you, and some things that you see are not what you need to be or what needs to be for you. So, and so if you are in a relationship or currently in a relationship that is breaking your spirit, remember, love should never ever make you afraid to be yourself. If anything, love should make you want to be yourself. And, love should never want to make you feel worthless or lose your identity. trying to be in love or trying to keep love, because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. And if you're scared to, I understand, because change is hard. It's hard to walk away from something. New beginnings are hard. It can be scary, but I encourage you to walk even when your feet gets tired. You just keep going, because I survived. I survived heartaches. I survived pain, and I know that you too can survive right here, right now. You can survive, because, like I said, just because you're the strongest man, or you think you're the strongest woman, or people think you're the strongest man, it does not mean that you will not have hurt. That does not mean that life won't try to pause you. But the point is, you get back up. Because every single day that I chose to move forward, I kept praying. Those tears that I cried, that long breath after you cry, that and then the relief that comes after that. I took one day at a time, one day at a time. And if I can survive from something that tried to break me, I believe you can survive from whatever you're facing. Sometimes, your comeback is the moment that you chose yourself. That is a badass comeback when you choose yourself, because now they're really not going to be able to handle you. You're choosing you. So there was some questions too I have. One of the questions was, someone asked me, can they still win if they slow down? And I tell you, absolutely, you surely can win if you slow down. Move at your own pace. Hell, even the turtle, okay, he finished the cross line. So move at your own pace. Some of us are carrying yesterday's promises and still wondering about tomorrow, even worrying about next year that hasn't even came yet. No wonder you're tired. Who told you that you had to carry everything and everybody? You deserve, better. You don't deserve to pour into an empty cup. You deserve peace in your life. You deserve change. Life does not change overnight, but you can change your mindset, right? You can change your mindset, set boundaries, you know, plan to succeed, stand and keep going. You know, explain, stand up for what you know without explanation. Just stand and do what you're supposed to do and keep praying, because that's where healing starts. You are not behind, you are becoming. You are greater and you are wiser than you was. Like I said before, I take real life pains, real life disappointments, and real life heartbreaks, and I turn them into a positive purpose. That is what this podcast has always been about. It's not about me showing up here and pretending my life is perfect, because it's not. It's not me sitting behind this microphone pretending like I have all the answers, because I don't. I'm here because I survived enough to have a story worth telling. And I want to share it with you guys. That's survival. And now God still continues to bless me. He continues to bless this podcast, and it's growing. I never dreamed that I would be able to have the courage to be able to talk to people, because believe me, I appreciate every one of your subscribers. I thank you guys for all the smiles and everything that you do, because without you guys, I wouldn't be able to continue to do what I'm doing. And you guys always come with good intentions. But I've had people on my platform that has criticized me. God bless them. They have. I've had people come over to my platform that tells me that I'm not good enough to be a host on my own podcast. Some of them laughed at my hair. Some of them talked about my voice. Some of them even made uneven comments about my skin color, and maybe they did not to say it directly, but sometimes hate doesn't always have to be spoken for you. Hate doesn't always have to be spoken directly for you to feel it. You understand? People who did not even know me, people who has never even sat at my table and even had a meal with me, people who's never even seen me cry, don't know anything about me but a quick 30 minutes on my podcast. But somehow they felt comfortable enough to judge my entire life from a 30-minute show. Now, life is grand because it doesn't matter what you do, you're never going to satisfy people. So don't try to satisfy people because, you know, you might get you a new outfit and get your hair done and you got you a new car and you riding good and you feeling confidence about yourself, but there's always going to be someone think, oh, they think they're cute. I do. I do. And I'm blessed. Thank you. Because if I'm counting on you to tell me it's okay for me to look the way I look or drive this car, if I wait on your approval, you're never going to have a car because you're waiting on someone else's approval. Don't wait for someone else to approve you to be successful. Because people will think what they want to think, and people will treat you just the way you allow them to treat you. So the way you treat yourself will affect the way people treat you. You know, because like I said, somehow, people could think that they know two things about me, and all of a sudden they know the whole thing about me. Now, all of a sudden, social media, it could be social media people saying things about you, your family, your friends, your co-worker, or even a high school friend. I don't know. But people will try to create a version of yourself that has not even been created. So, and those things can hurt. But remember, people's opinions are just temporary. God's purpose is eternal. It is forever. So when people try to make you feel small, just remind yourself that you have value and you're never determined by the comment section. So what people say about you, that doesn't determine your future. It may hurt your feelings, it may make you feel bad, but it's not going to determine your future unless you allow it to. Because sometimes people can say some really effed up things and you think, oh, I'm such a bad person because this person said this about me or they think that about me, you know. And so then you start to think that about yourself because you're hearing all these things and once you start to hear it, you start to register it, you start to believe it. I mean, if someone tells you you're not shit, all your life, you might start believing that you're not that. But the actual reality is maybe you need to step back and look at them and maybe they're not. Maybe they're going through something and misery loves company, you know. But one thing about, God has given me a story to tell and a life to live as well as yourself, because this calling that he has put on my life right now is a lot louder than the negativity that tries to go inside your mind and overload you or people, places, and things. God's voice will always be louder. So every person who's listening, I want you to know you are valuable. And remember, God knows what you're going through. He counts every tears. So even when a stranger wants to give you negative and don't know anything about you, you keep going forward. Because sometimes through your own survival, you'll hear you will hear the positive things of yourself. And if you don't hear it, God will keep reminding you because He's a kind God. He's a serving God. And He lives for us. And we live to make ourselves be better and more peaceful. So practice loving God, practice loving yourself, keep walking in faith, and never get tired of telling I'm sorry, I just had a tongue twist. Keep loving God, keep loving yourself, keep moving forward, keep choosing yourself, keep showing up, keep speaking encouragement to yourself, to other people, and keep living because God will never, ever stop believing in you. So sometimes when you think, I don't believe in myself, stop it because don't let people's opinion become your identity. And if you're listening today, if people have tried to make you feel invisible, because that's not a good feeling. If people are trying to make you feel invisible or unworthy or ugly or less than enough, no, no, not today. We're not doing that. You keep walking, you keep living, you keep trusting because the same God who opened the doors for me, I guarantee you he can open the same doors. That just happened again. Oh my God, excuse me, I am not perfect. So I would rather spend my whole life living out his purpose than chasing other people's approval. That's a lesson that I learned. Um, and so, of course, before I leave today, I want you guys to know that your identity comes from God. He created you, right? Your identity doesn't come from other people's opinions or strangers. What matters is what you think of yourself. People will often treat you the way you allow them to. So practice self love. You know, self love isn't selfish. Teach yourself that no is a complete sentence. Say no without feeling bad. And it also teaches you boundaries. Stand on your boundaries because your boundaries will save you amputation. Because you were never meant to lose in life. You're just getting your life back. Get it back. So, hello, somebody. Family, from the bottom of my heart, I believe that life can get better, not because problems disappear, but because you grow through them. So, today, if you hear me, allow yourself to rest. If you got to cry, cry, but you keep showing up. And don't be afraid to ask for help. To ask for helps. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Excuse me, because the world still needs to see your smile. The world wants to see you. The world wants to hear your testimony. The world wants to hear your laugh. The world wants to hear your comeback. So please, before you leave, please like, subscribe, feel free to leave a comment. And you guys remember that every other Saturday, yay, I'll come back and it's called Sizzling Saturday and we just talk about it. It's where you guys, my followers, my subscribers, where you guys get a chance to come out here and ask questions or let's just sit and talk about it. Either way, it's a vibe that cannot be misunderstood. So, with that being said, if there's not any questions or any comments, my time is up. I want to thank all of my subscribers and all my viewers that popped in and popped out, and to be a early happy birthday to you. I hope that your birthday goes great. So you guys enjoy yourselves. And I don't think there's any questions that I particularly have to ask for this evening. So if there's no questions and no one has nothing to say, your girl gonna get out of here because I am hungry. Good news though, I will have merch available mid-August. So I will have cups, mugs, t-shirts for the Here and Now show. So that merch is looking real nice. I'm excited about it. Um, and again, will you will you say we love you? T. Okay, I will say I love you. But I don't know how to say that for an edit. Okay, just know I love all of you. I love each and every one of you. Now some people be like, "Oh my God, she says she love us." I love you that you are human. I love you that you come here and you keep showing up. I love it that you woke up this morning. I love the fact that you made it through another day. You made it through last night. You made it through the weekend. That is worth being blessed for. Um, so again, like I said, feel free to subscribe and like if you have any questions, if you want to tell me something about your weekend, I would love to hear it. Or if you just want to say hello, or if you just want to say little T. Hold on. This is why I wear glasses because your girl a little bit blind there, a little bit, little bit, little bit, little techo. I don't know what that is. Sorry. Say that. I just said it. All right. So I just said it. Um, So thank you for joining. I said it, and I'm glad that you are here. Uh, so with that being said, again, I'll be here for like another, I don't know, 5 or 4 minutes. This, if you guys have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave them. But if not, I'm going to get off the air. And I want to thank you all for tuning in with me this evening. It's been blessed. God is good. And I hope you guys have a blessed evening. So if you're driving, drive safe. With that being said, I'll see you guys later.